Revealed, the billionaire's amazing transformation, how one remarkable black woman changed his life forever. Darryl stood in the lavish atrium of his mansion, the walls adorned with modern art and the floors gleaming with marble, yet it felt cold and empty. The panoramic view of the San Francisco Bay should have inspired awe, but instead, it anchored him in loneliness. Just last week, he had been a billionaire, a king of Silicon Valley. Now, as he watched the sunset bleed orange into the water, he felt his heart sink, realizing the market crash had destroyed his empire almost overnight. All his wealth, his status, had turned to ashes, leaving only isolation in its wake. In stark contrast, and at the crack of dawn, Tasha woke up in her modest home in Detroit. The faint sound of sirens drifted in from the streets, a reminder of the struggles that shadowed her community. With 2 kids to feed and bills piling up, she worked tirelessly. After a grueling 10-hour shift as a nurse, she was off to her second job, exhaustion clinging to her like a second skin. Yet she rose with resolve. "We will make it," she whispered to herself, smoothing down the wrinkled school uniforms laid out for her children. She was a warrior for her family, fighting against a system that liked to keep people like her down. Tasha's neighborhood was a whirlwind of chaos, yet it pulsated with the beat of hope. She had learned from heartache but also from her community's resilience. As she organized a community health fair, she poured her determination into making it a beacon for families needing more than just medical assistance, an opportunity to uplift and inspire. One fateful afternoon, Darryl, lost in thought and desperation, stumbled upon the health fair while searching for job leads. Dressed in his worn jeans and a simple black t-shirt, he felt like a shadow of his former self. The vibrant chatter of kids and parents, mingled with the smell of grilled food and laughter, was far from his world of boardrooms and tech launches. Tasha found herself confronting him, the man who had once represented everything she despised. "What brings you here?" she shot, eyes narrowed in skepticism. That day, amid tents and tables, heated words flew. For the first time, someone questioned his past priorities. Tasha's passion spilled over as she shared her daily struggles and the injustices he'd overlooked. Her voice was fierce, carrying the weight of her community's dreams. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. This exchange ignited something within Darryl. For the first time, he wasn't a billionaire, he was just a man grappling with his worth. Seeing Tasha, her struggles mirrored triumphantly, he realized he couldn't go back to his old ways. Just when the weight of connection began to lift him, an old colleague, desperate to restore Darryl's fortune, approached with promises of success. Suddenly, the choice loomed large before him, the jagged crossroads where he could either reclaim his wealth or forge a deeper connection with the people he dismissed. The thought throbbed painfully in his chest as he pondered Tasha's words about what true success meant. She embodied resilience, and he felt the tightness in his throat as he considered what legacy he wanted to leave behind. Darryl stood on the precipice of change, with the warmth of Tasha's spirit nestled in his heart. Would he choose this path of purpose and connection, or allow greed to lure him back to the empty mirage of his previous life? The air felt electric, and with it, uncertainty loomed. Would he emerge transformed, or would fear lead him back to solitude? The question hung heavily, leaving readers eager to discover his fate. In a moment, he was jolted awake by the commotion around him. Children had gathered around a volunteer giving out free backpacks, their laughter piercing through his thoughts. Darryl watched as Tasha smiled, helping to strap a bag onto a little girl's shoulders, her eyes bright with hope. In that instant, the heaviness in Darryl's chest began to lighten. There was something infectious about Tasha's positivity. It was so different from the cutthroat world he had become accustomed to. This was life, real and raw, filled with challenges but decorated with kindness and community spirit. Perhaps, he thought, it wasn't too late for him to rewrite his story. He stepped forward cautiously, unsure of his voice. "Can I help?" he asked, the words spilling out before he could reconsider. Surprise flitted across Tasha's face, followed by a cautious smile. "You want to help?" she asked, her tone a mix of disbelief and curiosity. I'm just trying to find my way, he admitted, a slight crack in his facade. The truth hung between them, thick and heavy. All right then, she replied, her tone softer now. Grab some of those sandwiches over there and start handing them out. Darryl nodded, feeling a rush of purpose surge through him as he moved towards the table. It was simple work, yet it filled him with a satisfaction he hadn't experienced in years. Children squealed with delight as they reached for sandwiches, some offering shy thanks. For the first time, Darryl felt like he was a part of something greater. As the day unfolded, he found himself alongside Tasha, handing out supplies and sharing stories with the families who came by. He listened intently as she spoke to each parent, a lighthouse of support guiding them through their troubles. In return, they shared their lives, their struggles, and, often, their hopes. Do you see? Tasha said, her voice filled with energy worthy of a spark. This is what connection looks like. This is where wealth truly lies. He nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. By the end of the day, Darryl was exhausted but grounded in a way he hadn't known for ages. The world he had left behind now felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the raw beauty of the lives around him. He realized he had a chance, not just to restore his financial empire, but to forge bonds and perhaps, start a new legacy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, Tasha stood beside him, her presence comforting. You can be part of this if you want, she said gently, eyes searching his face. But it won't be easy. You have to fight for it just like we do every single day. Darryl felt a lump in his throat, a bittersweet mix of sadness and hope clashing within him. It was daunting, the thought of what lay ahead. What if I fail? He murmured, vulnerability seeping through his bravado. Tasha regarded him with an unwavering gaze. Then you try again. That's the difference between real strength and what you had before. Her words washed over him, planting seeds of determination amidst doubt. A sudden idea flickered to life, a possibility that thrilled him. What if we worked together? I could help you amplify the health fair. The excitement in her eyes glowed brighter at the suggestion. Are you serious? She asked, incredulous yet thrilled. With all my heart, he replied, their eyes locking in an unspoken agreement that could change everything. But as a twist of fate would have it, just then, Darryl's phone buzzed in his pocket, revealing a message that could threaten this new direction. Would he risk everything again for a chance at change or succumb to the pull of his old life? The question lingered in the air, an echo of uncertainty mixed with hope. It was time for him to make a choice that could alter the very fabric of his existence. What would he decide? Darryl stood frozen as he glanced at his phone screen. The message blinked back at him like a glaring neon sign, igniting a mix of anxiety and nostalgia. It was from his old life, from a name he thought he had left behind, Fletcher Company. His business partner, Cass, was reaching out. We need to talk. Urgent. His heart raced. It felt like a weight crashing down on his newfound sense of purpose. How could he turn away from all of this? The joy of helping, the warmth of connection, it was everything he had missed during the cold, calculating years of his past life. He turned to Tasha, who was chatting with a group of parents, her laughter creating an aura of comfort around her. Everything okay? She asked, sensing his hesitation as he pocketed the phone. I just got a message from work, he admitted, struggling to find the words. Would she understand? You need to answer it? She asked, an edge of concern painting her voice. Yeah, but not right now, he replied, even as a tug of urgency laced through him. Tasha studied him for a moment, concern melting into gentle acceptance. Whatever you decide, I'll support you, she said softly. But your heart is where this is, Darryl. She gestured around, encompassing the bustling scene of families and children, hope mingling with laughter. He took a deep breath, trying to ground himself in the present rather than the shadows of the past. I know, he murmured, feeling the warmth of the sun dipping lower. It made the worries seem smaller, almost trivial, compared to this moment of sheer connection. Let us focus on this fair, Tasha encouraged, her voice lightening the heaviness wrapped around him. If we're going to make this work, we need every ounce of energy we can muster. Darryl nodded, determined to push that unexpected message aside, if only for a few hours. They continued to hand out supplies, and each smile lifted his spirits higher. A little boy ran up to him, holding a brightly colored backpack. "Thank you, mister," he shouted, his eyes gleaming with pure joy. Darryl knelt down, a grin on his face. "You bet. What's your name?" "Jamie," the boy shouted back. "Jamie, that backpack looks awesome on you." As Jamie swirled around, displaying the bag like a trophy, Darryl's heart swelled. It was small moments like these that reminded him why he was here, fighting to rewrite his narrative. But as the sun began to set, the glow of warmth faded slightly, and the message nagged at him, tugging for attention. Once the last backpack was handed out and the last sandwich had been distributed, the event began to wind down. He noticed Tasha was already making plans for the next fair, scribbling ideas in a notepad with urgency. In that moment, Darryl was torn. He could feel the pull of his old life tightening around him. The promise of riches, security, and perhaps a flight back to the world he once dominated was dangerously inviting. Yet, he had tasted something sweeter today: the laughter, the camaraderie, the feeling of being needed. "Hey, Tasha?" he called, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. She looked up, her eyes bright and hopeful. What if I choose this?" The question hung heavy in the air between them. "That would be the bravest choice you could make," she replied, understanding seeping into her smile. Just then, Darryl's phone buzzed again, a reminder of the world outside. He felt the pull of it like a tidal wave ready to crash. The question remained within him, swirling with fear and hope: could he truly let go? As he stared at Tasha, her faith in him shining brightly, he knew the moment of truth was near. Would he embrace this new journey or retreat back into the shadows? The answer felt just out of reach, and the ripple of doubt began to echo louder. What awaited him on the other side of the decision? Would he dare to embody the transformation he yearned for? Darryl shifted his weight, his phone buzzing in his hand like a live wire. Tasha's steady gaze drew him back, reminding him of the warmth he had just felt. It contrasted sharply with the cold, hard reality of Fletcher Company, a world that felt like it belonged to someone else now. He fought the urge to open the message, to let the familiar tide of responsibility wash over him. "Do you want me to read it for you?" Tasha asked, tilting her head, the flicker of concern creeping back into her eyes. "No," Darryl replied, shaking his head. The anxiety was palpable, but at that moment he'd rather face the unknown than open a door back to a past he was trying to leave behind. They turned to the fair winding down around them. Parents were packing up their children, grateful for the day's experience, as flames of laughter warmed the cool evening air. Darryl's heart tugged instinctively towards the families. These connections were becoming his lifeline. "Let us grab a bite before we clean up," Tasha suggested, her voice light, but he sensed a hint of urgency. "Sure," he said, and they made their way toward a food truck. The smell of grilled cheese and barbecue filled the air, igniting a warmth in him that was miles away from the sterile boardrooms of Fletcher Company. "Do you think they'll be okay?" Tasha mused, glancing nervously at her bustling notepad where ideas danced around in chaotic enthusiasm. "Of course, they will," Darryl reassured, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "We got the word out," and before he could finish, the food truck worker handed over his sandwich, and the warm bread echoed the shimmering comfort of the fare. As they ate, Tasha shared plans for their next event, her eyes sparkling with vision. "This could be bigger than we imagined. Imagine a community center, regular events, workshops for the kids." Her enthusiasm was contagious, and despite the weight on his shoulders, he found himself smile. "Yeah, I can see it," he replied, his heart fluttering at the prospect. Maybe he could sow his new life with this kind of impact, stitch by stitch. Just as he felt roused by her dreams, his phone blared again, breaking through the moment. He sighed, looking at the message preview that taunted him from the screencast. "Why don't you just reply?" Tasha asked, her voice softening again as she watched his internal battle play out. "What is it about the past that holds onto you so tightly?" He considered her words. "It's not just work, it's the life I built there. Everything I worked for." Tasha leaned closer, her expression earnest. "But what did you really want?" As the question sunk in, a knot twisted in his stomach. Did he want another race for success, or was it this: the laughter, the connections? He suddenly imagined returning to the office, where suits and ties were the armor of status. A world he had outgrown or, perhaps, had never truly belonged to. He took a deep breath, wiping his hands on a napkin, debating whether to confront the dragon or let it lie. Darryl, don't let the past steal your present, Tasha added softly, the sincerity in her voice catching him off guard. He looked at her, truly looked at her, and felt something shift in his chest. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed yet again. Fed up with waiting, he finally pressed the screen open. The message stared back as he scanned it quickly, adrenaline shooting through him. Darryl, it's about the meeting. We need your decision. This could change everything as silence enveloped them as Tasha steadied her breath. It's time, she whispered, and the gravity of those words struck him like a bolt of lightning. Was he ready to choose? As the chaos of the fair slowly faded around him, the choice loomed larger than any he had faced before. The world felt switched on, expectations hovering. But in that very moment of clarity, he knew something fundamental had shifted. He could stand firmly at a crossroads, one path leading back into the past, and the other opening towards an uncertain but vibrant future. Would he step into the light of the unknown, or would he retreat to the comfort of the familiar? The question lingered, suspended in the air like a whisper of promise. Darryl, Tasha prompted, her eyes wide open, searching his. And with that, he felt the first flicker of resolution ignite within him. But was it too late to leave the past behind? The choice was about to reveal itself, but Darryl could almost hear the echoes of his past calling him back. What if this decision would change everything? Darryl stared at the message, the words pulsing like a heartbeat that quickened in his chest. In that moment, it felt as if the bustling fair faded behind him, replaced by the sound of his own pulse, each beat a question, each inhale a challenge. He began, his voice a careful whisper that didn't seem big enough to fill the space between them. I really don't know, Tasha. The evening air shifted as the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in deep hues of orange and purple. Tasha remained silent, a steadfast anchor. He could see her weighing his indecision, her features shifting from expectation to a raw empathy that made his heart lurch. Look, she said finally, gently breaking the silence, you have a chance here to redefine everything, Darryl. What does the meeting really mean to you? He wrestled with the question, as if it was lassoed around him. It means safety, it means security. But it also means going back to a life where he hesitated, searching for the right words. Where I felt trapped in a box. Tasha nodded thoughtfully, her gaze penetrating his own. And what about the life you can create if you say no? The community center, the workshops, it could really bring change to people's lives, including your own. Do you really think that is possible? He asked, almost incredulous. The thought slipped through his mind like a soft breeze, stirring something he had almost forgotten. Of course it is, she affirmed, her voice strong, arms crossed in quiet resolve. You have this gift, Darryl, of connecting with people. You can lead them to something beautiful. The power to change is already in you. Her words, filled with conviction, wrapped around him like a warm blanket on a chilly night. He felt the weight of the message still resting heavily in his hand. He could reply, recenter himself in the world of projections and profits, the world where he had built his life. But could he really bear to let the chance of a new reality slip away? As the last of the fairgoers trickled out, an electric energy seemed to crackle in the atmosphere. The distant sound of laughter faded, leaving a poignant stillness hovering in the air, a moment suspended in time. What if I fail? He whispered, the fear bubbling to the surface of his throat, making it hard to breathe. Tasha reached out, placing a steady hand on his forearm. It was a small gesture, but it grounded him. What if you fly? What if you discover something better than you ever imagined? Sometimes the biggest failures lead to the greatest successes. 1,000 possibilities danced before his eyes, each one painted in different shades of hope and fear. He could almost see it as space designed for creativity and community, a place where he could shed the constraints that bound him to Fletcher Company, a home he had never known. Okay. The words slipped from his lips, simpler and softer than he felt inside. I choose to see what's out there, what it could become. Tasha's expression transformed into pure joy. That's it. Just take it one step at a time. He nodded, heart pounding. As she squeezed his arm, the connection between them felt electric. As they turned and started to walk away from the fading fair, motion thrumming beneath his feet, a flood of hope filled him. But with each step, another twist awaited at the corner of change. He looked back, one last glance toward the influence of his past. Was he really ready to break the chains? Just then, his phone buzzed again, a new message, this time more insistent. Darryl, we can't wait. You need to decide now. A jolt shot through him, the past wasn't done just yet. He turned to Tasha, eyes wide. What if they won't let me go? He asked, voice trembling with the anxiety of the looming confrontation. The world around them continued onward, oblivious, as he stood at the brink of everything. Then you fight, she replied fiercely. You fight for the life you want. With that, Darryl felt the ground shift again beneath his feet. Would he summon the strength to stand up for his choice or buckle under the weight of expectation? The decision gripped him, the air thick with anticipation. What awaited him on the other side of that message? Darryl's heart raced. The world around him faded, the sound of carnival music and laughter transformed into a low hum, muffled by the pounding of his pulse. He couldn't shake the insistent buzz from his phone, a reminder of the life he could cling to or the one he dared to leave behind. He clutched the device, feeling its weight like a tidal wave pulling him back toward Fletcher Company. Would he really abandon everything he had known, everything that had kept him afloat, for a dream that felt just out of reach? What if they find out? What if I lose everything? He said. Tasha's eyes sparkled with understanding. Darryl, she urged, stepping closer. This isn't just a decision about a job. It's about who you want to be. It's about what you truly want in life. He could see her passion, the fire igniting in her. It mirrored the flickers of bravery buried deep inside him. I don't know if I can take that leap, he admitted, his voice barely more than a breath. Maybe it's not about knowing, Tasha replied, her voice as warm as the fading sun. Maybe it's about believing in yourself enough to try. To fight for what you deserve. The words struck him, each syllable unfurling a little more of his uncertainty. He suddenly felt like the fair had come alive again, colors swirling around him, bright lights spinning and twinkling. He thought of the community center, of kids smiling as they learned new skills, of adults rediscovering their self-worth. What would it be like? He found himself pondering aloud, his mind weaving into the possibilities. A space where people feel valued, a place to create something meaningful. That's the spirit. Tasha cheered softly, and he could see her excitement bubbling over. You've got the vision. Now you just need to take the first step. He took a deep breath, searching for the courage in the depths of his soul. Yet just then, another buzz interrupted the moment, louder and more demanding. Darryl, we're waiting. Don't test our patience. His heart sank. The message hung in the air, an ominous cloud darkening the newfound brightness he had begun to feel. Tell them you need more time, Tasha urged, her eyes serious and intense. They don't control your fate unless you let them. But would he really send a reply, severing ties with the only life he had ever known? The idea curled around him, creating a feeling of nausea. He thought of the stability he had struggled to build, the income, the respect from his peers, the safety net he depended upon. Fight for what you want. Tasha's voice rose above the noise in his head, almost as if she could read his thoughts. Don't let fear dictate your worth. You're more than what they've trained you to be. With each passing moment, the decision weighed heavier, his breath tightening in his chest. He wanted to scream, to escape, but instead, he felt pinned down by expectation, by the fear of failure. In a sudden rush, he thumbed through the messages. The cursor blinked impatiently, and outside, the neon lights of the fair seemed brighter. He looked up at Tasha, hoping for a sign, a reassurance that whatever choice he made would turn out all right. But instead, he saw determination reflected back at him. Would it truly be worth it? He whispered. Tasha reached for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. You won't know unless you try. With a shuddering breath, he realized that all was at stake beyond just employment or financial gain: his heart, his future, and his identity. As his fingers hovered over the screen, he could feel all eyes on him. He was on a precipice, swaying between the past and a hopeful tomorrow. Okay, he finally said, voice strong in its resolve. I'll tell them I need to think. But just as he was about to hit send, his phone buzzed once more, this time with an unknown number. Darryl, it's time to hear the truth. Are you ready? His stomach dropped. Who could it be? What truth lay ahead, waiting to alter his fate forever? Tasha's grip tightened around his fingers, anchoring him as a wave of uncertainty surged anew. He swallowed hard, knowing the real fight was about to begin. Would he face whatever came next head-on or retreat into the familiar embrace of what was safe? And deep down, he could feel the stirring of change, of the fight to come. Darryl's heartbeat quickened even further as he stood rooted in place, the world around him fading again, replaced by the weight of that message. What truth was this unknown sender discussing? Fear gripped him, but beneath it, a flicker of excitement sparked alive. Who asked that? Do you want me to check? Tasha asked, scanning his face with concern. The strength of her gaze turned the dread into something almost resembling courage. But he shook his head, pulse racing with the tension of the moment. Just give me a second, he breathed, letting the silence wrap around them, a brief reprieve before the storm. He clicked on the message, unsure of what he might find. The text was brief but loaded, meet me at the Beacon Cafe tomorrow. I have something important to share. Darryl's mind spiraled with questions. Who was Jay? What could be so urgent? Slightly disoriented, he threw Tasha a pointed look, searching for answers she didn't have. Do you think I should go? Absolutely, she encouraged, squeezing his hand tighter. You need to know what they want. But remember, regardless of what it is, you're in control. It's your life. With a hesitant nod, he recognized that her words held a profound truth. For the first time, the uncertainty felt less like a potential trap and more like a door waiting to swing open. Tasha leaned in, her face lit with a determination that was contagious. You don't have to answer them right away. This is your opportunity to ask questions, to speak your mind. In that moment, Darryl's fear shifted into curiosity. The mission to uncover what this was about felt like a chance to gain some agency in his own life, a way to turn the tide. The echo of Tasha's encouragement settled in him like the warm summer sun, coaxing seedlings of hope to push through the hard ground of indecision. Okay. I'll go, he said firmly, allowing the decision to solidify in his bones. His gaze lingered on Tasha, a grateful smile spreading across his face. Thank you. Just remember, whatever happens at the cafe, keep your vision in mind. This is about more than just one meeting, she said, her smile brightening. It's about who you are and who you want to become. As he stepped away from the chaos of the fair, doubt still lingered in the back of his mind. Taking a different path would require swallowing that anxiety whole, pushing through it for the chance of something greater. Later that night, the weight of anticipation mixed with anxiety made sleep elusive. He tossed and turned, envisioning snippets of potential futures, joy in building a community center flooded with laughter, the embrace of his vision coming into reality, but also shadows of what failure could look like. It made his stomach twist. Morning arrived too quickly, sunlight flooding his small apartment like an unwanted alarm. Still, his resolve remained firm. After a quick shower, he dressed neatly, the act itself feeling like part of his transformation. Every button slid into place felt symbolic of the changing narrative he was crafting. At the Beacon Cafe, against the quiet buzz of morning patrons, Darryl watched the door anxiously. He arrived early, giving him time to gather his thoughts, to rehearse both his questions and dreams in his mind. It was crucial to approach this meeting prepared. He needed to straddle his old life with the possibilities of the new. The bell above the door jingled, pulling him from his thoughts. A figure slipped inside, tall and confident, glancing around. When their eyes met, an electric realization coursed through him. This was no ordinary meeting. The presence stirred something deep inside. Is it him, he thought, throat dry with anticipation. As the figure drew closer, he could see the air of confidence combined with something else, familiarity. And just as their paths aligned, the truth hit him like a freight train. Who stood before him could change everything, or perhaps reveal the very heart of what he was too afraid to embrace. Darryl, the stranger said, offering a hand with a smile that felt oddly comforting. I'm glad you're here. We need to talk about your future and mine. In that moment, possibility and fear blended together into a swirling dance of emotion, leaving Darryl teetering on the edge of a choice he never anticipated. Would this be the turning point he needed, or would he find himself tangled again in the web of his past choices? With each breath growing heavier, he gripped the edge of the table, knowing he was stepping into unknown territory. What revelations lay ahead? This meeting promised to unravel everything, and maybe he was finally ready to find out. Darryl's hand shook slightly as he shook the stranger's hand. I'm not sure I understand. What do you mean by your future, and mine? The stranger's smile broadened, and he took a seat across from Darryl, careful to maintain an inviting demeanor. My name is Jordan, and you're right to be confused. I didn't just reach out to you at random. Our lives have been more intertwined than you realize. Darryl's mind raced. What connection could he possibly have with this person? What are you talking about? He asked, feeling the intertwining threads of fear and curiosity pull him further into the conversation. Let me explain, Jordan began, leaning forward. I've been watching your work in the community. The plans you've laid out for the community center, they're incredible. But I believe you could do far more than what's currently on your plate. Darryl blinked, caught off guard. You've been watching me? Not in a creepy way, I promise. Jordan laughed lightly, sensing the tension. I own a few businesses in the area, and I've partnered with various nonprofits. Your passion caught my eye. I think we can collaborate to make your vision a reality and then some. Collaboration? The word felt heavy in the air, as if it stood for something much larger. How do I know you're genuine? You could just be another wealthy person throwing money around, expecting something in return. Jordan's expression turned serious. You're right to be cautious. Trust doesn't come easily, especially in this world. But I assure you, my goal is to empower those who want to uplift their communities. What's important is your vision, and I want to support that. Darryl's heart raced at the thought. All the sleepless nights spent sketching plans and dreaming of bettering his community were suddenly in reach. Yet, doubt crept in as well. What's the catch? There's always a catch. You'll have to agree to let me help. That's it. Jordan's gaze remained steady, as if he understood the weight of the moment. You're the leader here, Darryl. I'm just offering a helping hand. The words struck a chord in Darryl. Help was exactly what he needed, but the implications of accepting it felt daunting. And what if it doesn't work out? I can't let others down. I've poured so much into this already. There's a lesson to be learned even in failure. Jordan spoke with a warmth that made Darryl feel seen. You have this chance to take a leap, a chance to transform not only your future but those of countless others in your community. Not many get that opportunity. Darryl closed his eyes, envisioning the bustling center, kids playing, families gathering, all under the roof he had dreamed of building. The idea urged him forward, igniting a spark he had almost forgotten. He took a deep breath. Okay. Let's talk. Jordan nodded, a glimmer of gratitude flashing across his face. That's the spirit. Remember, we're stronger together. As they delved into planning, each idea flowed smoother than the last. Excitement bubbled up inside Darryl, imagining what this partnership could yield. Something deep within him began to shift. Okay, maybe he wasn't just a small-town dreamer anymore. But just as the conversation turned to logistics and funding, Darryl's phone buzzed violently on the table, breaking the spell. He looked down to see a message flash across the screen, the sender unknown but the tone urgent. You don't know who you're dealing with. Meet me tonight if you want to know the truth about Jay. The room began to feel smaller, his stomach twisting again with a familiar anxiety. Who was this new voice entering the fray? What truth did they hold over the promise blossoming in front of him? Darryl? You all right? Jordan's concerned voice pulled him back into the moment. Yeah, I might have to take a detour tonight. He felt torn between the glimmer of potential and the looming uncertainty of what he was about to confront. Jordan tilted his head, eyes narrowing in concern. Is it something important? Maybe too important. Darryl replied, the weight of decision pressing on him. But I'll figure it out. As he stared into Jordan's determined eyes, Darryl realized that his path was now shadowed by risks he hadn't prepared for. What did it mean for him if he chased after this new lead? One promise of a future held in contrast with the urgency of a past he couldn't ignore. As he rang his lunch bell for clarity, he felt the pull of both worlds battling for space in his heart. Would he chase the light of a new opportunity, or would the truth lurking in the shadows pull him back? Untangling that knot would be the key. But the question loomed, was Darryl truly ready for the winding road ahead? Darryl felt his heartbeat quicken as he read the cryptic message again. It echoed ominously in his mind. Who knew about Jordan? What truth could they possibly reveal, and did it mean something more sinister for the community center? The excitement from his earlier conversation faded like a distant echo, replaced by uncertainty. Darryl? Jordan's voice broke through his thoughts. You can't let distractions take you away from this opportunity. Right, he said, trying to bag up thoughts tightly but failing. I need to take care of something first. Jordan leaned back, labeling it serious. You can't ignore the potential of what we're building just because of uncertainty. You can't take one step back when you're poised to leap forward. Darryl felt the weight of those words. The potential pushed against doubt like waves crashing against a shore. But the message had gnawed at him. What if it was a warning? He had seen so many people come and go from this town, only to swoop in when things went wrong. Trust was a fragile thing, easily broken. Look, Darryl said, shoving his phone into his pocket like it carried too much information. Can we pause this for a moment? I need to be alone for a second. Of course, Jordan replied, rising smoothly from his chair. Take your time. I believe in you, Darryl. Alone, the buzz of the cafe faded away, replaced by the rush of his thoughts. He rose and stepped outside into the crisp air. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, typical of early evening. Social noises hummed softly in the background, but he felt isolated. He paced the sidewalk, each step sharpening the mental struggle inside him. He wanted this change. He wanted the community center. The thought of children laughing, families coming together, felt like an ache wrapped around his heart. But could he afford to risk it all, especially with ominous threats swirling around? He pulled out his phone again. The message's sender remained unknown. All he'd gotten was a name, a simple letter J. But what did it mean? What could they possibly know? A car honked nearby, snapping him back to reality. He plumped down on a bench, sinking into the moment. Everyone else seemed to glide past, but he was stuck, feet planted firmly in uncertainty. Should I really meet them? He thought aloud, feeling ridiculous talking to the empty street. What if this is some kind of setup? Or worse? He ran a hand through his hair, feeling the familiar tightness in his chest. The truth was he'd fought too long to let the community down, to let himself down. The passion he felt for the center and what it could bring was unforgiving. All right. I'll meet them, he decided, a sense of resolve beginning to reshape the uncertainty. But I'll be careful. He would learn all he could about Jordan before diving headfirst into this partnership. Just as he stood to head back, his phone buzzed again. A notification, and not from the previous number but a text from his best friend, Marcus. Hey man, I have something to tell you. You gotta hear this. It's about Jay. Meet me at the diner at 8. Darryl's heart raced anew. Now, not only would he meet the mysterious source of his earlier message, but now he had another lead. The night promised revelation, but which way would it take him? He took a deep breath and felt the weight of the moment press against him. Would he find answers that brought clarity in the darkness, or would those answers send him spiraling into deeper confusion? The sky began to darken as he walked back toward the cafe, determination replacing uncertainty one step at a time. There were more layers to peel back, and tonight was the beginning of his personal reveal. As he pushed open the door, the familiar scent of coffee and pastry swirled around him, grounding him. How long until he faced the truth? He was ready to find out. Would this night change everything he thought he knew about himself and those around him? Darryl took a deep breath as he faced the growing storm of uncertainty in his heart. The bustling cafe, with its warm aromas and comforting sounds, felt like a reprieve from the internal chaos. When he walked back to the table, he met Jordan's steady gaze, but the weight of the world clung to him. "All right," Darryl said, sitting up straighter, determination edging his voice. "I want to hear more about this partnership." Jordan smiled, a spark of excitement lighting his eyes. "Great! Together we can create something incredible for the community. We just need to align our visions." But just then, the buzzing in Darryl's pocket jolted him again. "It's Marcus," he muttered under his breath, half annoyed at the interruptions. He took the phone out, the text from his friend sieging his focus. "I have something important to tell you about Jay, don't forget." "The truth is important," Jordan pressed, following the flicker of tension crossing Darryl's face. "You need to feel secure in what you're stepping into." Darryl glanced between the two pivotal conversations in front of him. Deep down, he felt the pulse of every promise and every fear converging. But which one would he choose to follow? "I have to meet him," he said, voice firm. "I need to understand more about this whole situation. I can't let my past dictate my future without fully knowing the details." Jordan nodded, understanding etched on his face. "Fair enough. But let us keep the focus. We'll be here, working towards something great." As Darryl stood, preparing to leave, Jordan grabbed his attention. "One last thing," he said. "Don't lose sight of your purpose. No matter what you find out, remember why you're doing this." With a heart full of unresolved mysteries, Darryl moved through the cafe and stepped into the evening air, contemplating what lay ahead. He arrived at the diner, where the flickering neon sign promised warmth and familiarity. Marcus was seated in a corner booth, a furrow of concern drawing his brows together. "Hey," Marcus greeted, motioning for him to sit. "You okay?" "Yeah. Any news about Jay?" Darryl asked, urgency lacing his tone. Marcus leaned in, lowering his voice. "Look, I've heard some things. Jay's not who he seems. There are rumors about him wanting to take control of the community initiatives. I'm just saying be careful." Darryl felt a chill of apprehension creeping down his spine. "Control? What do you mean?" "People are saying he has motives beyond just supporting you. Some think he wants to profit from the community's struggles. It's not purely altruistic." The shadows of doubt began to stretch around him as Darryl battled with conflicting emotions. In his heart, he wanted to trust Jordan, the connection he felt when they spoke, the potential for change, but Marcus's words ignited caution. "Thanks for telling me," Darryl replied, feigning strength even as uncertainty gnawed at him. "I need to approach this carefully." With the meeting with Jordan looming over him, Darryl felt the stakes rise. Could he navigate this web of ambition and community care? He returned to the cafe with renewed resolve, facing Jordan, who was fully engaged with paperwork spread across the table, a blueprint for their vibrant future scribbled over charts and plans. "Hey," Darryl started, pulling out a chair. "I need to talk about something important." Jordan's eyes lifted. He sensed the shift. "Is everything all right?" "I just heard some things about you, about your intentions," Darryl said, meeting his gaze. "I need to know your truth." An icy silence filled the space between them. Jordan's smile faded, replaced by an analytical look, as if gauging Darryl's resolve. "I assure you, my intentions are genuine. I want to support the community, your vision." "Then let us lay it all out," Darryl urged. "If you want this partnership to work, we need transparency. I won't let my community suffer because of selfish desires." Jordan leaned back, taken aback. "I admire your commitment. But believe me, I wouldn't throw my reputation away on something insincere." Darryl waited, needing reassurance. The weight of the night hung heavy. With possibilities, threats, but also hope. "I'm trusting you," Darryl finally said. "Let us create something beautiful together, but I need to know you're in this for the right reasons." "Can you promise me that?" "Yes," Jordan replied, his voice steady, revealing sincerity. "More than profit, I wish for growth, healing, and change, something you're already driving." The flicker of faith ignited in Darryl's heart. Maybe, just maybe, this path would lead to something greater than himself. The air shifted, and as the night deepened, he recognized a sense of belonging to something larger than just an individual success. They sat for hours drafting plans, visions flourished from their minds: community workshops, health resources, educational programs. Each idea blossomed, underlined by clear intentions. And as excitement built, Darryl straightened tall, fortifying the foundation of his new journey. Tomorrow's sunlight would bear fruit from today's hesitations. With visions tethered, hope firmly planted, Darryl felt a new purpose. Darryl realized there was finally power in choosing to fight for something meaningful, and he was ready to embrace every moment ahead. As they wrapped up, he felt lighter, the burdens of his past slowly melting away. "Let us do this," he declared, grinning as though the world had cracked open. His heart soared with vibrant possibilities, igniting the fire he had thought lost. Together, they would not only change the future for others, but Darryl would also reclaim his own. He fought for resolution and connection, one compassionate attempt at a time. With Tasha's spirit and Jordan's promise, he would pave the way, proving that transformation wasn't just possible, it was essential. In every glance, every conversation, and every step forward, now, he was ready. The warmth of a new dawn awaited. And as always, the community awaited him. Now it was his time to shine, to take back control of his path, revealing that dreams truly could come to life when born from love, connection, and purpose. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, and this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.